Alright, on to example number 2. Again, this should be on your worksheet, so make sure that you have that out. So we're going to use hydrogen gas and oxygen gas to make water. I have 25 grams of hydrogen and 75 grams of oxygen. I need to know how much water I'm going to make. I had to figure out who is limiting me first. So what we're going to do is do stoichiometry for each one of these, and we're going to figure out how much water each one of these can make. So I'm going to take my given value and put it over 1, and we're going to convert that to moles. So for every mole of H2, we have 2.02 grams of H2. Now that we're in moles, we can use our mole ratio. Coefficient on hydrogen is 2, so for every 2 moles of hydrogen, we get 2 moles of water. Alright, last step is desired units. They asked us how many grams of water we can make, so we're going to be using our molar mass. For every mole of water, we have 18.02 grams of water. All of our units cancel. With significant figures, we end up with 220 grams of water. So with 25 grams of hydrogen, the most water that we can make is 220 grams of water, which is quite a bit. Okay. Now I want to check our oxygen, and again, it's the exact same process. Given over 1, we're going to convert this into moles. For every mole of O2, we have 32.00 grams of oxygen. Now we're going to do our mole ratio. Coefficient on oxygen is 1, so for every 1 mole of oxygen, we get 2 moles of water. And then again, we want that in grams, so for every mole of water, we have 18.02 grams of water. Cancel our units. With significant figures, this answer comes out to be 84 grams. Okay. So again, our smaller number, in this case the 84 grams, is the amount that we can actually make. This is a theoretical yield. Now what they asked us for was a limiting reactant. In other words, which reactant, hydrogen or oxygen, limits us. This number came from our oxygen. So oxygen is the limiting reactant. Right? Our excess reactant will be the hydrogen, meaning hydrogen will be left over after this reaction is done. Okay? So here's your second example. That's pretty much what I have for you. Now, if you're in honors, you want to keep watching this video. So, once we get to this point, you might be asked how much of the excess reactant is left over. So as we said, there's going to be some hydrogen left over. What I want to know is how much hydrogen is left over. Okay, so give me a second to give myself a little bit of room on the board. Alright. We already said that oxygen is our limiting reactant. Since it limits us, it controls everything. So we want to do all of our calculations based off of the oxygen. So we already know that we're starting with 75 grams of oxygen. And again, I want to know how much hydrogen is left over. To figure that out, I need to know how much hydrogen is used. So again, this is just stoichiometry. You've already learned how to do this. We're just using it in a new way. So we're starting with 75 grams of oxygen. Let's see how much hydrogen that means we use. So we're going to convert this to moles. For every mole of O2, we have 32.00 grams of O2. Now we can do our mole ratio. So for every mole of O2, we have 2 moles of hydrogen. Right, our last step is our desired unit. Since hydrogen is given to us in grams, and we want to know how much is left over, this needs to be in grams as well. So for every mole of hydrogen, we use 2.02 grams of hydrogen. Okay. All right, so when we multiply this out, which I forgot to do before I started this video, so I apologize. Just give me 1 second to use Ms. Langer's calculator here. So I'm going to take 75 divided by 32 times 2 times 2.02. 75 divided by 32 times 2 times 2.02. There we go. This tells me that I would use 9.5 grams of hydrogen. So when I react 75 grams of oxygen, I only use 9.5 grams of hydrogen. And that's because hydrogen is so much lighter than oxygen. Now, we know that we started with 25 grams of hydrogen. So how do I know how much is left over? Hopefully you just told me that I subtract. Right, so we're going to end up with 15.5 grams of hydrogen in excess. Right, that's the stuff that's actually left over. That is the amount of excess. Right? All right, hopefully you found this video helpful, and I will see you next week.